Learning and Enabling Learning, Embracing and Implementing the Curricula, August 2020, Direction de la Formation Générale des Jeunes. Introduction, Part 1, Learning and Enabling Learning, Embracing and Implementing the Curricula. The teaching profession involves working with young people, transmitting positive values and contributing to their overall development. By helping young people develop their skills and construct their identity, and by providing them with the tools they need to succeed at school and in their present and future lives, we're educating tomorrow's citizens. As teachers strive to provide students with the best possible education, some fundamental questions arise. How do my students learn? What are the factors for success in school? What essential learning do they need? Why develop competencies? How do knowledge and know-how fit into the Quebec education program? What is my role in my students' learning process? How can I equip my students to learn how to learn? And what impact does my teaching have on my students and their ability to become lifelong learners? In this presentation, we'll explore the issues and challenges surrounding these questions. This video is part of a broader reflection on learning and teaching. It's a reminder of the essential principles of students' learning and the links between these principles and the programs of studies. Its content is in line with that of the two other educational videos offered by the Direction de la Formation Générale des Jeunes, which are called Identifying Students' Needs to Adjust Educational Planning and Differentiated Instruction through Pedagogical Flexibility, a response to mixed ability classrooms. This portion of the series is divided into 6 distinct parts that will address learning in general, learning and essential learning, competencies, what are they and why develop them, how can we foster long-term competency development, a framework for educating our youth, and the role of teachers in the learning process. Learning in general. Part 1, Learning and Enabling Learning, Embracing and Implementing the Curricula. Clip 1, August 2020. First, what does it mean to learn and how do students learn? Learning is a continuous process of constructing knowledge in which the learner is actively engaged and for which they are primarily responsible. There are several key concepts in this definition. First, the word process, which describes something ongoing and not a finished state. The word process refers to a series of mental operations that allow the learner to transform information and, by the same token, to change their view of the world. Learning, therefore, implies change, which occurs whenever new information is integrated by the learner. This new information generates new links, ergo, change. The learning process is continuous and cumulative, since students build their learning by linking what they have learned before, whether at school or through personal experience, to the new learning to which they are exposed. Students are at the heart of their own learning. Consequently, they must be actively involved in all stages of learning activities. Since learning is an internal process, it's difficult to observe and cannot be transmitted regardless of the type or quality of instruction received. Thus, according to Gibber in 1978, the teacher can bring the student to the doors of knowledge, but only the learner can cross the threshold. Students are thus responsible for attaining their own learning objectives. They reflect on their own learning process and on what they need to do to move forward. This element of self-reflection contributes both to the development of their autonomy and to the strengthening of their motivation. Learning is also an interactive process. Students learn when they interact with their peers and teachers. These social interactions help them to negotiate meaning and concepts, to construct their identity, and to enrich their worldview. Research has identified the following factors as having a significant impact on student learning and academic success: teacher and peer feedback, the teacher-student relationship, regular reading practice, regular opportunities for talk, and autonomy in learning. First of all, Frequent feedback based on formative assessments during the learning process allows the student to adjust their understanding and to better develop their competency in a given field. This feedback can be provided by peers as well as by the teacher. On the one hand, it allows the teacher to collect data to adjust their teaching and instructional approach. This is called the regulation or adjustment of teaching. On the other hand, by integrating feedback throughout the learning process, students receive continuous and effective indications for improvement, which helps them to adopt a more reflective approach for the development of their own competencies. The following characteristics generally emerge from effective feedback. It is respectful. To be well received by students, feedback must be constructive and non-threatening. The student needs to feel that any mistakes are an integral part of their learning process. Secondly, it's timely. To be perceived as helpful to students, feedback must be provided at the appropriate time during the task. It's also focused, clear, and specific. The student needs to understand the feedback and to be able to process the information. The feedback should focus on one or two key elements and be relevant to the task or learning goals. It's manageable. Feedback must provide information that students find useful. The student should not view feedback as an end in itself, but rather as an indication of progress and an opportunity for improvement. The relationship of trust between teacher and student is also very important. Fostering a positive classroom climate with clear expectations for students promotes success for all. This requires that students feel that their learning process is respected by the teacher, meaning they feel comfortable asking questions and are willing to receive objective feedback. Encouraging reading also has an important effect on student achievement, since reading skills are required in all subject areas. Reading is approached at different levels of complexity. A superficial reading of a text focuses only on the meaning of words and the information presented, whereas a more in-depth reading can lead the reader to question the author's intent or to make connections with personal experiences. It's therefore just as important to teach vocabulary and reading comprehension strategies as it is to encourage students to question what they are reading and to go beyond what is written in the text. To help students better understand future texts, preparing them for reading by activating their prior knowledge will also have a positive effect on their comprehension and their ability to make connections. It's also important to consider the issues of reading in the subject areas being taught, because many texts read in school have disciplinary characteristics that must be considered. These particularities may be related to the nature of the text addressed, the types of discourse, or the reading intentions specific to each discipline. As well as regular opportunities to read, students also need regular opportunities to discuss their learning and ideas in a variety of contexts. Discussion-rich classrooms help build high-quality dialogue and critical thinking and the verbal communication skills students need to succeed in work and in life. Finally, independent learning or self-regulated learning has a significant impact on academic success, according to Bice, Martineau, and Legendre, 2016. Students who demonstrate autonomy in their learning are better able to assess their progress, identify what challenges they face, and, if they are unable to find solutions, seek help. Moreover, once acquired, this learning preference appears to be maintained throughout schooling and leads to deeper learning, better academic performance, and greater perseverance. In short, learning is a change in the way connections are made in the brain and therefore in the way we see things and process information. Learning is therefore organizing information, making connections between various kinds of knowledge, transforming one's understanding and applying it to new situations, constructing the meaning and concepts individually and with others, and constructing a worldview. Finally, learning also involves taking risks, pursuing a goal, acquiring knowledge, developing skills, acquiring a repertoire of learning strategies, and mobilizing resources. If you have any questions related to this clip, please email us at dfgj@education.gov.qc.ca.